Welcome everyone. Um, First, let's make sure you can all hear me okay. So if you can hear me, let's just let me know in the comments. I think you should be able to. And we'll go over this move, this rejection idea here, and talk about some of the news that's forming around it and why I don't think that matters. I just turned on the stream. I can hear myself, so I know you can hear me. All right. Perfect. Thanks, guys. Okay, so before we get into this rejection idea, whether or not I think the Gartley is going to play out, just want to say, obviously the primary Gartley target here was the 786, around 48,000. It's a bit of a region. We have this local swing failure level we've been interacting with. But I want to talk a bit about the news that's kind of forming around this, right? We had Michael Saylor buying more Bitcoin, then the Ronin exploit. And what's really important is to explain to you guys that this news on any kind of meaningful time frame is irrelevant, okay? And I'm going to hopefully do that in a way that for somebody that might come as a shock to, can understand and digest. So first, let's start with kind of some first principle ideas about what drives the market and what doesn't. Does retail traders driving or trading the news, is that what drives the direction of price in the market, right? So if we see bearish or bullish news, or however we want to interpret it, does our collective buying and selling activity change the momentum and direction of price in a meaningful way? It simply does not. Okay, so we all have heard of market makers, and some of us have a different understanding of what that market maker looks like. But in crypto, there's essentially a very small group of market makers, and I won't get into who they are or what they are, that control the direction of price. Okay, and there's no amount of news that can come out, bearish or bullish, that can counter trade them. It doesn't matter what the news is. So how do market makers trade and drive price? Okay, so let's go with this for next principle. Market makers control the direction of price. They drive price up and down, and there's no retail traders that can trade them or counter trade them. Sorry. If that's the case, what do they trade based off of? Do they trade based off of news? No. And they simply can't. It's not practical. And I'm going to explain why. But they're not sitting there with their news feeds open saying, okay, guys, let's wait for either bullish or bearish news, and whatever it is, whatever we interpret it as, we'll take our positions long or short. No, their plans are built over larger time frames, and they don't trade the news, and they can't trade the news. So if the entities that drive price don't consider news, how does news matter? Right? Does that make sense? I do want to know if anybody in the comments disagrees with me. But let's talk about how market makers do build positions. So if I'm a market maker and I've built longs down here, and then I've actually helped support the market and help this momentum carry on into a high liquidity zone, and now I'm unloading my longs and I'm building my short positions in this high liquidity area, and I'm not considering news, right? Because I control where price goes. So if I built my short positions I want, and bullish news comes out, like Michael Saylor bought Bitcoin, I'm not going to reverse my position and say, well, boys, sorry, yeah, the bullish news has come out and Bitcoin's going to the moon. We need to unload our short positions, because I control where price goes. So it doesn't matter what the news is. I will drive price wherever I want it to go. I have an alert going off. Someone's saying, ask Elon. I'll get to that. So I can drive price wherever I want it to go and unload my shorts if that's my plan. Or if my plan is to just generate some liquidity here, maybe fake out a move to the downside and then push up, then that's what's going to happen. Um, but yeah, so just understand that, the first thing that you need to grasp is that wherever the market is going in regards to news, that's where it's going. It doesn't matter what the news is, because the entities that control the market don't trade news. So news doesn't matter. It's actually that simple. Um, and I would say, over a longer time frame, like let's just say that the world comes out and they say we're adopting Bitcoin as the global currency. Does that news matter? Well, again, if I'm one of these entities, and this is crypto specific, there's big market makers in all markets, but in crypto there's a very small group of market makers that truly do control the market. And if my intention is to drive price down, you can see the headline that the world is adopting Bitcoin as its global currency. What do I do if I control the market and I have massive shorts here? Do I just say, well, even though we could drive price down, that news is pretty bullish, so let's just take a massive beating and unload our shorts. If I'm that market maker, I just drive price straight into the ground regardless. So, anyways, here's the point. Here we are rejecting. Obviously, I see tons of stuff on my newsfeed about this Ronin exploit and how that's relevant here. It's irrelevant. And in terms of how I look at this Gartley target, and are we going to get a rejection? Well, we're getting a rejection. Is it going to carry on down further? Because I'm not in the minds of a market maker, I don't know. Whatever they're going to do, they're going to do. But what I can see is we're getting a rejection. There's signs that big short positions are being built, right? Regardless of what the news is. And so I have my shorts, and I'm going to let those play out, right? This is a area of interest for me from all the way down here, talking about as this price was coming up and how bullish this looked, and we had a high likelihood of coming up into this liquidity, and it's a really nice technical target. When price reaches here, I'm going to be looking for shorts. And I think the reason I'm going through all of this kind of explanation about market makers and what drives the market is because if you don't understand that, then you don't understand, that, like, I get questions all the time about where the market, like even on this Gartley, where are we going to go down to? Is the Gartley going to happen? Because I know that the price is driven by specific entities executing a plan, and I'm just looking for clues that if I think that they might be driving price down from here, that I'm right. I don't know where they would drive price down to, but if we reject from here, we have some, we're looking for liquidity zones, right? Like where, if you were to imagine where would stop losses be on this 1 hour chart for longs? Well, we have some pretty clear liquidity zones, right? If we get a rejection, this might be a nice liquidity zone. We can start looking for technical confluence. So would this be somewhere where you might consider taking profits on a short? For me, probably not closing it completely, but certainly taking profits if we get a rejection. And on a more local time frame, you can already be taking profits, right, at the bottom of this range. Yeah, so price is, I don't think we're necessarily, like if we just kind of look at in the past, again, there was obviously, this was all the bullish CPI numbers, all that stuff. There's memes about all these big accounts longing the exact top. Just want to say back here, it was true as well. This rejection was going to happen regardless of what the news was. But people obviously trading the news, tons of volume coming in here, got trapped. If we look at previous rejections, typically these big levels don't play out quite this quick. It's not uncommon to see this type of price action where we range for a little bit longer. And I wouldn't be surprised, I'm looking for shorts here if we do reject here, if price does come up through the highs again. It may not, and it may. So anyways, this is a short region for me for swing shorts. How does it get invalidated? Well, if we start pushing up and claiming these levels, you know, it looks a lot less bearish, right? But yeah, for me, like, I have longs from lower. This was a key target for me on this whole upside move, and now I'm taking shorts at a key level where there's clearly been a ton of liquidity generated. You know, I think this was a $300 million 5-minute candle when we pushed up. A $445 million 1-hour candle, but a $300 million 5-minute candle. So, you know, let's get into some technical analysis at this key range. We obviously have this swing failure idea. You know, we back tested it, we lost it. It was resistance. We came back up to test the highs of the range, and we've lost this key level again. We've generated enough of a range here that we can actually start looking at pulling a volume profile over here. So look, we have a point of control. We've lost it. That's a big level. We back tested it as resistance. So we're looking for signs of a breakdown, right? But for me, just even locally here, this isn't where I take my shorts. I took my shorts up here, you know, like this idea, even here, I think my average entry for my shorts is somewhere around here. It's slightly above this swing failure. But, you know, I like playing local price action, so I'm looking for nice kind of precise sniper entries. We had that live stream a few days ago where we talked about this push up through this level to swing failure this high. And, you know, I think I just drew this, right? That's what I drew, what I was expecting. Push up, come back down below that level. It's a nice technical setup. You take your short, and you can take profits. But even if we're pushing up through this level, this doesn't invalidate the idea of shorting here for me, right? I'm actually just building more short positions. And I'm happy to take profits locally on those shorts. I'm happy to add to them at the highs of the local range. You can still trade this locally. So for me, it's not a, I'm not shorting this. I'm shorting this, the highs of the range locally, taking profits. So anyways, yeah, I think there's not a lot to be kind of said here other than we're at a key high time frame level of resistance. We're forming a local range. You know, you can start pulling local fibs. The kind of local 618 lines up perfectly with this high. You could pull a fib from here as well. And then you can start pulling fibs from the lows of the range. You could even do it from this pivot. You could do it from here. But for me, the simplest way to look at this, value areas, we're bouncing off the value area low. That's the highlighted portion of the volume profile. And we can just look at this range. The point of control comes obviously around the middle of the range. And if you're just looking for kind of local entries, well, you know, you can potentially scalp longs off the lows, and you can take shorts off the highs. And if you're interested in swing positions, you want to recognize that we're at high time frame resistance. So for me, this is an area I'm more interested in building higher time frame short positions, but I'm still doing that, trading it locally, right? So just locally, bearish under the point of control, more bearish if we lose this value area low of this volume profile. If we can claim this locally, you know, we can start maybe looking for a push up to the highs of the range again. It wouldn't surprise me to, if we're going to get a rejection, to take the highs to stop out shorts and do something like that. Yeah, so that's how I'm looking at the chart. I'll kind of see if there's anything else I want to add here. T-Miss with News says boring. Yeah, I guess, you know, it is kind of boring. That's actually the thing about trading that people don't realize is 95% of your time is spent just doing analysis and planning. Very little amount spent trading. and it's usually pretty boring. People want everything to be exciting, which is why, if I did thumbnails with my mouth open and kind of screamed at you how Bitcoin was going to the moon, that would be a little bit less boring. But unfortunately, technical analysis can be a little boring. I bet you this is a 786 or an 886. Yeah, so this is also the 786. I'll just clear these other fibs. And the value area low. So big local support, right? I'm not necessarily, I'm interested in shorts here. I'm not anticipating like this is the breakdown. We could range here for 3 more days. We could break out. But what I do know is these are great, easy to execute shorts, right? Because especially you have key high time frame levels, you have formed a local range, so it's not hard to take shorts here. Someone asking if I use ExoChart, CVD, etc. I just did a post recently on Twitter. I use cumulative volume delta, divergences, and things like that. I've used ExoCharts in the past. I'm not really using ExoCharts at the moment. But I use CVD, which is kind of the most relevant way I think you can see divergences, potential shorts being built, potential longs being built, price absorption, that sort of thing. Yeah, so I just wanted to do a quick update here because there's a lot of volume coming in, and typically what happens with Bitcoin is longs and shorts are just never easy. So, if this looks like a clear rejection, there's a good chance that people will get stopped out again and price could range, and maybe we take the highs and we do a classic BART. But you don't need to know what's going to happen to make money trading this. You just need to understand what your key levels are. If you're interested in longs, you want to take them from the lows. And if you're interested in shorts, you want to take them from the highs. But for me, shorts are kind of more appealing because if I'm taking longs here, where are my targets? Obviously, there's some higher time frame levels, but do I really want to be taking a swing trade here? Certainly could scalp, but I'm going to be closing the vast majority of my longs by the time we come up into the highs here. And inversely on shorts, well, we have this Gartley target I've been talking about for a long time. So, I can, there's just better, higher risk reward setups for shorts. Whether it's down into this liquidity zone, down into the middle of the channel. So, shorts are more appealing for me here. I have longs from lower. So, this isn't really a place I'm interested in taking big long positions. Someone asking if this doesn't look like a short squeeze. Well, a short squeeze, like price can range here for a while, we can reject from this point of control, we can take these lows and then short squeeze. But I don't really care what happens, right? Like, because I have my shorts, I'm interested in shorts here. The invalidation is clear. And so, yeah, if we get a short squeeze, then we get one, and I'll reevaluate. You can just take profits on your shorts. This is a big enough range just to trade locally. You have 2% from the highs to the lows. And if we reject here, great, I have my shorts. If we push up here to the highs, that's not going to stop out my shorts. If my shorts get stopped out, that's fine, and I'll reevaluate. Yeah, so let's just see. Someone wants me to tweet that Bitcoin's going to be 100K by the end of April. Maybe I will. Maybe I'll tweet that. Yeah. I want to keep this one kind of quick. I was gonna just do it as a video, but Twitter, you can't upload anything longer than 2 minutes, and I just thought I'll just throw it into a live stream. Um, yeah. So, anyways, here it is. Point of control. I like using volume profiles. You can see they get respected very nicely. You can use the highlighted areas of a volume profile as your range, the lows, the highs. Then we have local fibs we can pull. I always leave little dots everywhere on my screen because I accidentally have my paintbrush and it kind of annoys me. We could look at some altcoins. A lot of people interested in waves here. But this isn't really the place you want to be interested in taking longs on waves. If you look on my Twitter, I just posted a Luna Elliott wave count I had where I was talking about the lows of the Luna move. I don't think this is the file that I have that count on. But anyways, for me, these are the areas of interest right before the big move. So although you can get into the psychology of being really interested in waves now, this is not the time to be interested, right? So you got to get out of that mindset. You got to look for ideas where you can find consolidation at support. But yeah, let's go to ape, because as some of you know, we're trading ape up to here, the middle, back into this range, and then we got this deviation from the range. I noticed in the Discord there was a lot of people who traded this short back into the range. That's great. So that was an idea. Obviously, ideas looking for shorts at the top of the range. If those got stopped out, looking for a deviation back into the range. Similar to what we got here. We got this move out of the range and then a perfect back test back into it. So I think this range on ape is just tradable. It looks really nice. Still tradable. We have some different kind of levels forming with these deviations, so something to watch out for. I don't like trading in the middle of the range, so you're looking for me, longs at the lows, shorts at the highs. Can certainly come back and retest even this back test this high. That could be a nice short as well. I bet you there's some nice, potential fib interaction there. Yeah, you have a golden pocket around there. So, maybe we do push up. You can pull a low to high fib as well. We're at the golden pocket. So, anyways, this range is still relevant, still tradable. Just looking. Someone says, you know how Luna is the all-time high. How do you use fibs to know where the following fib is above the all-time high price? That Luna, yeah, so those are fib extensions, I think is what you're asking. Like, how do you use fibs above, instead of a retracement, it's an extension. So, if you're using like a trend-based extension to the downside, oh, that's time. Oh, that's actually the one-to-one trend-based fib extension here to the dollar. So you could also turn on the 1618. So that's pulled like this, high, low, high, gives you downside extensions. And if you go low, high, low, you get upside extensions, if that's what you're asking. Yeah, so for Elliott waves, that's typically something you're going to use to project price up into all-time high regions, or even just relative to the move that's happening. Someone asking if you should extend this range to account for the deviations. You can, but if you are, you do still want to take into account this range. So, you still want to have these levels marked out. So like if we did extend it, these are still relevant levels. And then you could use fibs as well. Yeah, someone asking about waves again. Yeah, let's go over this. So I'm going to talk about Cardano, and then I'll talk about waves. I shared that I was bullish on Cardano here and expected some kind of move up. That is when I'm interested in Cardano. Now, people, you have to get out of the mindset of being super interested now, right? People are, this isn't where you want to take a trade. You want to realize that when price looks boring and is consolidating, that's typically going to be where you're wanting to take positions. So if we go to waves, like if I hadn't ever heard of waves and I just looked at this chart, I would have zero interest in this, just personally. I mean, what's the trade here, right? So, if you don't already have a position, and I wouldn't want to short this. I don't want to long it. I don't really care what happens. If it goes to $800 straight up, I have no way to trade that from here, right? So you need to be able to find your support regions and find your positions lower. I do, you know what? I'm actually going to pull up an example of that because I understand not everybody might have seen it. Give me 1 second. I'm just going to delete everything. Okay, I'm gonna pull this up next to a naked chart. So, when price was down in this region of $43, I had posted, could this be the bottom for Luna? I think it could. It's likely. And I give an Elliott wave count. But for example, spotting this, that's interesting to me. Most people aren't going to be interested in here. After this, I'm just not interested in longs. I'm looking for shorts. So, if you keep chasing moves, and I think it's because most people can't identify support and potential reversal ideas, and so they're always caught chasing the market, and that's just bound to get you wrecked. Yes, you could have longed here and still done well, but only if you had a plan, right? Only if you had some reason to long here. If you have no analysis, no plan, and you're just trying to guess where the market's going, you shouldn't really beat yourself up if you miss that trade, because how could you have traded it? You didn't have a plan that let you get into that position. So yeah, I'm always looking, I don't really care if I miss a move on something that, let's just say I didn't even have an analysis on. I wasn't even looking at it. And if something moves 300% and I didn't have any plan to trade it, then I don't really care, because how could I have traded it? And I'm not going to jump onto a bandwagon. So, if waves start seeing some weakness, we start getting some potential retracement ideas, I'll be more interested, share more analysis on it, where some long entries could be likely. But, I posted that wave count quite a while ago, and it has targets up around 119, 120. So I'd be interested there. If that plays out, we could see a bigger rejection from there. Um, yeah. I actually do have to go right away. I wanted to keep this one short. Um, yeah, I'm not sorry. I don't have time to do a bunch of analysis right now. I did just want to hop in here while we were, seeing this rejection on Bitcoin, and how even though I have a bearish thesis here, there's also a bullish thesis, right? Like price can still push up. I'm not closing all my longs. I'm going to carry some longs. If we break out, great. But I'm interested in shorts. I'm taking them. Price can be analyzed locally, and we can just see what happens here. Someone asking if a coin reaches its all-time high, how to identify its resistance? I would say typically, you want to wait for price to build some structure. So I wouldn't get too interested in shorting all-time highs, but you can use Elliott wave analysis, fib extensions, and things like that to look for resistance at all-time highs. Look for ideas, rather. If you start seeing some weakness generate, you could even pull up a 20-minute or 50-minute chart and analyze price action at all-time highs and look for shorts based on local price action that could turn into bigger swing trades. So, anyways, I would just say we have bullish news coming out today about Bitcoin, bearish news. Personally, I'm not considering it. I'm still holding my shorts, and I'm still holding some longs, and we'll see what happens here. I'm not going to get too excited every time I see a red candle because of my shorts. I know that price can come up and even grab liquidity above the highs, still reject, or it can break out. I know that's not what people like to hear, that, even if you are an accurate trader, that you don't know where price is going to go. And once you understand technical analysis, you'll understand that you can be right 70, 80, even 90% of the time, well having no idea what's going to happen. And you're just trading probabilities. So this is a higher probability short than it is a long. And when you get high time frame levels and you can mix them with shorter time frame ideas, then yeah. So I'll end the stream with answering this question. Somebody saying, am I still thinking downside below 33K? And I'll just say, honestly, I don't even think about that. It's very possible, but we have so many levels in between. So we'll see. Like if we get a huge rejection here, I'll just tell you exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to take profits at key levels. I'm not going to close my short. If there's a lot of weakness and we don't even show any strength, I'll probably carry more of my short. But I'm just going to carry this short, and if we go to 33K or 25K, great. But we have to start seeing what happens at key levels, at key retracement levels. And it's, there's no point in trying to predict that price will go here. Even if I have a nice Elliott wave count that brings price down to 25K, but I'm just going to, I'll kind of, my perspective will shift as I start seeing how price interacts at key levels. For example, this is a line on the chart, right? This has no power to hold price down. So before this level comes, I have no idea what's going to happen. Price could just literally green dildo right through it. But now I'm seeing resistance. So it's like, okay, well, there's clearly resistance here. This idea has more validity in my mind now because we didn't just blow through it. And so, yeah, it's always easier when you can see price reacting at a key level to, give you some more confidence in an idea. Someone's asking if I can do a thread on volume profiles. I have a video on them, how I use them. So it's in my YouTube channel under educational videos. I explain how I use them. All right, guys. Hopefully this, as I forget who made the comment, but hopefully, as he said, this wasn't too boring. um, you know, ultimately, I'm not going to be updating my analysis a lot while we're ranging here. There's just no point to do, you know, brand new analysis every day while we're in a range. What will be more interesting is when we break down or break up. Then we can start looking at different levels. But for now, we're at a key level. We have some local ideas on how this could be traded, and we'll just see what happens. All right, I gotta head out. I have a call coming in. So thanks, guys. Hope this was useful, and we'll try to have a great week in the chart.